Hello, church. What a beautiful Easter day we had yesterday. And today we're going to continue our lesson in Jonah. And most of you have heard these events over the years. And today we'll be looking at chapter 1. We see that Jonah is a prophet to the northern kingdom, Israel. And they had been in a time of peace and wealth and prosperity. And it seemed like the more bankrupt spiritually they were. They were immoral, unethical people. And we find that Jonah here, who was sent to Nineveh, soon learned that God's love and mercy extends to all creation. For the book of Jonah reveals God's sovereign rule over man and all that he has created. And if you look closely, you'll see that Jonah is actually a picture of Israel. He knew and had been directed by God what God's will was, but yet he rejected that and he fled, didn't he? And we find, starting in the chapter 1 here, he was told to rise and go to Nineveh. Nineveh is a great city. It was considered the largest city in the world for a number of decades, and it is actually in northern Iraq. It is on the eastern banks of the Tigris River, across from the city of Mosul today. So it was a very big city. It was considered the capital of Assyria, and it was a Gentile city, which is interesting because we see the mystery in the New Testament that the word goes out to the Gentiles. But God had directed Jonah to go to Nineveh and to warn them of his judgment. But what did Jonah do? He fled, didn't he? He went west, just the opposite direction. Well, Nineveh is about 500 miles northeast of Jerusalem. So he went to Joppa, it says, which is Jaffa today in Israel, and boarded a ship. And because of the great storm there, the men on the ship decided that, hey, something is wrong. Somebody is not right with their God, which is kind of interesting that these pagan people believe that, but they were very strong in believing how their life was affected was by some God. And it says here, Jonah says, I am a Hebrew and fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. So that's in verse 9. And so they had found him asleep, and then they wake him up and see if he is right with his God. And of course he tells them he's not. He is guilty and he has been fleeing. So he tells them that they need to pick him up and throw him into the sea, and the seas will come. And so it did. And then we find down in verse 17, now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah. And that did happen, and he was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Hope you enjoy studying the lesson today, and may God bless you. It is a thing that Jonah had a hate for the people of Nineveh, and he did not want to preach to them. Where God had sent a strange prophet to them. And of course we find that they do repent, where he'd sent many prophets to Israel to no avail. So may God bless you today.